Hi Pre-Calc students, today we're going to start a unit on limits, and we're going to start by looking at limits on a table. All right, so here's just an example that's already kind of filled out. It says, given the table below, as x approaches 2, what does y approach? Okay, so if we look here, you can see we're getting closer and closer to 2, right? It starts at 1.89, 1.90, and it gets closer and closer to 2. Looks like this number gets close to 1. Now, if we go from the other direction, so 2.11, 2.10, 2.09, okay, we keep getting closer and closer to 2 the other direction. This also seems to get very close to 1. So as x approaches 2, y approaches 1. All right, so let's say we're given a function. So given the function, create a table by picking 5 values of x that are close to 4. So close to 4, kind of right like before, maybe we would do 3.99, 3.98, 3.97. And on the other side, if we're coming above 4, 4.01, 4.02, 4.03, 4.04, 4.05. Okay, so this is the function. Now I could go and plug every single one of these x's into the function here and see what my y is, but I don't really want to do that because it takes a long time. So we can do it on the calculator. And I'll just kind of write out some steps here, and then I'll show you how to do it. So we start with hitting the y equals button. And then we get the x by hitting that xt theta key. This is on a graphing calculator, if I didn't say that already. So caret 3, you're going to hit the minus sign. So not the negative, but the minus sign, 2. And then we're going to go xt theta. And then we're going to hit plus 3. Okay? So that's how we get the equation. If I want to create the table on the left, I have to set the table. So I'm going to hit second window. Again, window is at the top of the graphing calculator, that button. And the reason I'm going second is because I really want the option that's on top. I want to set the table. So if I wanted to make a table like the one I have on the left here, I might say I want to start the table at 3.95, and then I keep going up by 0.01. So table start is going to be 3.95, and then the change in table is 0.01. And finally, I want to get my table. So step 3 is going to be hit second graph. The reason I hit second is because graph, it says table, and that's really what I want. So I'm going to show you how to do that in the calculator. So here's my graphing calculator. I'm going to hit y equals, and I want it to say x raised to the, so I use that caret key, 2. So to the third. Now you can see that it's kind of blinking up there. I want to bring it down. I'm just going to hit this to the right key, and notice that if I just hit this arrow to the right, it brings it down. And then I'm going to do minus 2x plus 3. Okay, so that's my equation. Now I want to set my table, so I'm going to go second window, And I want it to start at 3.95. That's kind of what I just decided. I want to see something really close to 4, and I want to go in small increments. Here, I can just hit 0.01. It looks like it's already set up to that. But I'll just make sure it is. And then step 3, I'm going to hit second table. Okay. And now here, notice these are all the values that are above 4, and these are all the values that are, above 4 and below 4. So we'll write those down. Okay, so I just filled in the values that we got on our calculator, and we're going to look at what happens as x approaches 4. So you can see as x approaches 4, this seems to be getting closer to 59. Notice it's 56.73, 57.18, 57, 58, 58. If I look the other direction, I guess it's not quite so obvious because it could go to 60, but if I look the other direction, it goes 61, 60, 60, 59, 59.46. So if we really wanted to get into more detail, I could go by 0.001s, but it looks like as x gets closer to 4, y approaches 59. So this is the notation we use for limits. So as x approaches whatever the number is, the function is equal to this. So like in the last case, I might have said this. The limit of the function as x approaches 4, the limit was equal to 59. Okay? All right, so just to do one more example here, the limit of x squared minus 12 divided by x. So this has a fraction in it. So just a little note, when you have something on the top, put it in parentheses. So you're still going to do y equals, hit that y equals button, but then you're going to do left parentheses, x caret 2 minus 12, close the parentheses, and then divide by x, okay? We would end up with a table that looks something like this. Okay, so I just wrote what would happen if we put this into the calculator. So again, kind of putting that numerator into parentheses, and we're approaching 3, so as x approaches 3, what happens? Well, you can see, so I went a little bit below 3. I started at 2.95. Seems to be getting closer and closer to -3. If I go from the other direction, this also seems to be getting closer and closer to -3. So it's coming from below -3 and above -3. So I guess we can go back here and we can say this is equal to -3. All right. So just a little FYI. If we had something like x plus 4 over x minus 1 on the calculator, you want to make sure that you put it in parentheses. X plus 4, hit divide, because that fraction line means divide, parentheses x minus 1, okay? Okay, so far from both sides of A, the y value approaches the same value. It approached 4, it approached -3, etc. What happens if on both sides of the y value, it doesn't approach the same value? Okay, so let's say we have something like this. So this is approaching 0. So if I'm going below 0, I might want to go negative 0.01, negative 0.02, negative 0.03, negative 0.04. I'm going to fit this in, negative 0.05. And if I put that in my calculator, so I might do, again, a table start of this. If this is what I want my table to look like, I might do a table start of negative 0.05. We're still doing a table change of 0.01. But this is what pops up, negative 20, negative 25, negative 333. Okay, so it seems to be becoming more and more negative. Seems to be kind of approaching, maybe even you'd say negative infinity. Let's go from the other direction, see what happens. So instead of positive, instead of the negative direction, we're coming from the positive direction. 0.01, 0.02, 0.03, 0.04, 0.05. Okay, and this is what our table says. Oop, that's 333. 33.3, pardon me. 33.3, 50, and 100. Okay? So now as x is getting closer to 0, so we're going this direction to get closer and closer to 0, the number seems to be getting more and more positive. So you could almost say positive infinity there. It seems to be getting more and more negative there. So they are not approaching the same number. One is becoming more and more negative. One is becoming more and more positive. They're going opposite directions. So in this case, what is the limit? We would say D and E does not exist. Okay? So that stands for does not exist. So sometimes it's going to approach the same number and sometimes it is not. So that is an introduction to looking at limits based on tables.